Middle Magnet School. This is Mr. Brown coming to you from the Floyd Middle Magnet School online digital campus. Today, we are going to talk about solving equations with variables on both sides of the equal sign. Doesn't that sound exciting? I'm excited. Might have drank a Monster before I started this video, but we'll be okay. All right, we are going to start off with a couple of review questions. These are some two-step and multi-step equations that I want you to solve on your own. I'm going to put them up on the screen. You need to pause the video, write them down, work them on your own. Come back when you're ready to check your answers. Good luck!
Me, 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 me. All right, so here are our answers to our review questions. The first one, since there's a fraction with something to do on top, the first thing we need to do is undo the division. So we're going to multiply both sides by 8. The 8's cancel out. Leaves 0 and 5/10 x plus 7. 5 times 8 is 40. All right. Now all that's left is a two-step equation. So first we undo the addition or subtraction. We got a plus 7, so we need minus 7. Those cancel out. Leaves you 0.5x. 40 minus 7 is 33. All right. Now we need to undo the multiplication or division. X is being multiplied by 5/10, so we want to divide by 5/10. The 5/10 cancel out, and 33 divided by 5/10 is 66. So we want to make sure, some of you guys were forgetting on your minor grade the other day, but we want to write our variable equals our answer. So x equals 66. Number 2, first, there are like terms over here. So the first thing we want to do is combine the like terms. 6r plus 6r is 12r. Bring down the minus 1, bring down the 11. Now we undo the addition and subtraction. We need to add 1 to both sides. Pew, pew. Leaves us 12r equals 11 plus 1 is 12. Then we need to undo the multiplication that's here. We're going to divide both sides by 12. 12 divided by 12 is 1. So our answer is r equals 1. All right. All right, and then these. In number 3, the first thing we want to do is the distributive property. So we're going to multiply everything inside these parentheses by 3. Bring down the 18. 3 times 3x is 9x. 3 times a negative 6 would be negative 18. Then all we have is a two-step equation. We're going to add 18 to both sides. Gives us 9x equals 36. Then we're going to divide both sides by 9, which leaves 4 equals x, or x equals 4. Number 4, we got parentheses, so we need to distribute. Negative 5 times 3 is negative 15. Negative 5 times a positive w would be a negative 5w. Bring down the plus 7 and the 17. All right, then I have like terms here, so I want to combine these. Bring down your negative 5w. Negative 15 plus 7 would be negative 8. All right, so now we've got 17 equals negative 5w minus 8. So we undo the addition and subtraction. We need to add 8. Gives us 25 equals negative 5w. Remember, when you're multiplying and dividing, you use the same number. So we want to divide both sides of this equation by a negative 5. Those cancel out. That gives us 25 divided by negative 5 is negative 5. All right, one more. Again, we have the distributive property. This time, all that's outside is a negative sign. So we've talked about this before. If you're distributing a negative sign, if the thing was positive, now it's negative. And if it was negative, now it's positive. So a negative times a positive r would be negative r. A negative times a negative 6 would be a positive 6. So we've got 15 equals negative r plus 6 plus 22. Well, the constants are like terms. So a positive 6 plus 22 is a positive 28. So now we've got 15 equals negative r plus 28. Okay? We're going to subtract 28 from both sides. Pew, pew. That leaves negative 13 equals a negative r. And again, we talked about this. That's not by itself yet. It's still got a negative in front of it. So there are two ways to get rid of that negative. You can multiply both sides by -1 or divide both sides by -1. Either way, it gives you the same answer. All right, negative r divided by -1 would just be r. Negative 13 divided by -1 would just be 13. Hopefully you got all 5 of those correct.
5 questions, hopefully 5 right answers. If not, you can always go back and watch the videos from last week on solving two-step and multi-step equations. All of this is important for getting equations right that have variables on both sides of the equal sign. Now, no more delay. I know you guys are excited about solving these equations, so we're going to jump straight into it. Make sure you're taking notes. Pause the video if you're falling behind and catch up. But let's take some good notes and let's learn some new material.
So now we're going to get into some solving equations with variables on both sides of the equal sign. All right, so you see what's different from what we've done before is there's a m over here and an m over here. So we need to take one of these m's and push it to the other side. We can undo the 6m and push it over here with the 4m, or we could undo the 4m and push it over here with the 6m. Generally, you want to start with the variable that has the lesser coefficient. All right, so is 6 less than 4 or is 4 less than 6? 4 is less than 6. So I want to get rid of this 4m. Well, before, when we were dealing with coefficients, we just wanted to get rid of the coefficient, so we divided by 4. But I need the m to move too. What we're going to do is use addition and subtraction to move this whole term. So I want to get rid of the 4 and the m. Well, this is a positive 4m, so watch what happens when I subtract 4m. All right, 4m minus 4m is 0, and what is 0 plus 12? It's just 12. The variable went away. All right, but as you should already know, you can't do something to one side and not to the other. So if I subtracted 4m over here, I need to subtract 4m over here so that the equation stays balanced. All right, 6m minus 4m leaves you with 2m. And now, look, this equation only has a variable on one side of the equal sign. All right, and this particular one, all we have left is a one-step equation. Now I just want to get rid of this 2. So since it's times 2, we're going to divide by 2. Pew, pew. Which leaves me with m equals 6. And just on this one problem, I'm going to show you again that you can always go back and check your answer to make sure it makes sense. All right, you start with the equation that you started with at the beginning. We're going to take the 6 and we're going to plug it in where all of the m's are. So we got 6 times 6. We want to know, does that equal 4 times 6 plus 12? Well, 6 times 6 is 36. Does that equal 4 times 6 is 24 plus 12? And 24 plus 12 is 36. So both sides were the same thing, which means that our answer, m equals 6, was correct. Okay? On the minor grade and the test coming up, you need to check your answers, all right? Make sure your answer makes sense and works with the numbers that you have. All right, let's do another one. Letter B, negative 7x minus 198 equals 5x. Again, there's variables on both sides. All right, so pick the one with the least coefficient. Negative 7 is less than 5. So let's get rid of this negative 7x. All right, to get rid of the whole thing, we need to add 7x. And we do that to both sides. Pew, pew. What's left is a negative 198. And 5x plus 7x is 12x. Now we just want to get rid of the coefficient. So we divide both sides by 12. Those cancel out, leaves the x by itself. And a negative 198 divided by 12 is a negative 16 and 5 tenths. All right, let's do one more. This one's a little bit different in that there are constant terms, the plus 6 and the plus 12 on both sides, and there are variable terms, the 1.5a and the 9a on both sides. Okay, so we're going to push the variable one way, and we're going to push the constants the other way. All right, we want to wind up with the constants on one side and the variables on the other. Okay, so let's start with the least coefficient. That would be this 1.5. All right, so we're going to subtract 1.5a from both sides. These two cancel out. Pew, pew. That leaves plus 6, and we don't even need the plus, do we? Shh, shouldn't have written that. Shh. It's just a happy little accident. We don't make mistakes. Just happy little accidents. All right, 9 minus 1.5 would be 7.5a. All right, bring down your plus 12. All right, now, since we moved the variable that way, let's move the constant this way. All right, basically all we have left is a two-step equation. So we're going to subtract 12 from both sides. All right, that leaves 7.5a, and 6 minus 12 would be negative 6. All right, and then we need to divide both sides by 7.5, which leaves a equals, let's see, negative 6 divided by 7.5 is negative 0 and 8 tenths. All right, let's try a couple more of those. All right, we got a couple more opportunities to show just what we've learned so far. Letter D says 5n equals 3n plus 26. So there's a variable on both sides. Let's move it. Start with the least coefficient. That'd be this 3. How do you get rid of 3n? You subtract 3n. And whatever you do to one side, you got to do to the other. That leaves us with 5n minus 3n equals 2n and a positive 26. All right, and the reason we choose the least coefficient is it will always give us a positive variable, which is nice. We don't have to do that extra step at the end. All right, we've got 2 times n. This time I just want to get rid of the 2, so I'm going to divide both sides by 2. That'll leave the n equals 26 divided by 2 is 13. That one was super easy. All right, letter E. Anytime you got a variable and an equal sign, your goal is to get the variable by itself, and you do that by using inverse operations. All right, let's take this negative 2n and let's wipe it off the board, off that side. So plus 2n on both sides. Pew, pew. All right, that leaves us with 19 plus 7n plus 2n is 9n equals a positive 37. Now we're going to undo the constant. How do you get rid of a 19? You subtract 19. And whatever you do to one side, you got to do to the other. So that leaves 9n equals 37 minus 19 is, 37 minus 19 is 18. And then we divide both sides by 9. Which leaves us with n equals 2. All right, let's do that again. Same thing, we got a variable on both sides, we got a constant on both sides. So let's take this negative 8c and let's move it over. So that leaves us with negative 6 equals 3c plus 8c is 11c plus 16. All right, then we undo the addition. We're going to subtract 16. Negative 6 minus 16 is negative 22 equals, bring down your 11c. Almost done. We need to divide both sides by 11, which leaves negative 2 equals c. All right, let's do 3 more. And then I got another little wrench to throw in the works here. All right, letter G says 3y plus 7 equals a negative 6y minus 56. All right, we got a variable on both sides, so let's get rid of one of them. All right, this is a negative 6y, so we need to add 6y to both sides. And if you can handle it, at the same time, let's go ahead and handle the constant. All right, since I got rid of the variable over here, let's get rid of the constant over here. So how do you get rid of plus 7? You subtract 7. All right, look, I got rid of the variable term from one side and the constant term from the other. If you don't like doing both of those steps at the same time, then don't. Just do what we did up here before. Okay, but you can do both of those at the same time. 3y plus 6y is 9y. And then negative 56 minus 7 would be negative 63. All right, now it's a one step. We divide both sides by 9. Pew, pew. That leaves me with y equals negative 7. All right, letter H. 5r plus 6 minus 2r equals 7r minus 10. All right, not only do we have a variable on both sides of the equal sign, but we have two variable terms over here. So the first thing we want to do is combine like terms. We're going to put the 5r and the minus 2r together. 5 minus 2 is 3r. Bring down your plus 6 equals 7r minus 10. All right, now take the lesser coefficient. That'd be this 3. So we're going to subtract 3r from both sides. And I'm going to break this into two steps again for those of y'all that didn't like that. Bring down your positive 6. 7r minus 3r is 4r. Bring down your minus 10. Then we're going to add 10 to both sides. That gives me 16 equals 4r. We're going to divide both sides by 4. Running out of room. We get r equals 4. 16 divided by 4 is 4. All right, one more. This one's got some decimals in it. That's okay, because we got our calculator. All right, so there's a variable on both sides. We're going to get rid of the lesser coefficient. That'd be this 0.7k, or this negative 0.7k. We're going to add 0.7k to both sides. That leaves me with 1.5k plus 7 equals a positive 1. We're going to subtract 7 from both sides. Pew, pew. That leaves 1.5k equals negative 6. And we're going to divide both sides by 1.5, which leaves k equals, let's see, negative 6 divided by 1.5 would be negative 4. All right.
Next up is everybody's favorite math topic, and that is fractions. All right, what if there are fractions in my equations? Well, I'm going to show you a super sneaky way to get rid of all of the fractions in the equation with one foul swoop. so that then the problem just looks like the ones we've been solving already. Let me show you how to do that. This is a trade Mr. Brown secret, so make sure you learn it and keep it in your memory bank forever.
You were thinking, man, I wish that there were some fractions involved. That would be extra fun. Well, you guys are just in luck. We've got some problems with some fractions, but I'm going to teach you a neat way to get rid of the fractions altogether, and then you can do what we did up above to solve the equation. All right, letter J says 5/9 x equals 4/9 x plus 9. This is a 9. All right, I know it's not an A because I already have one variable. You can't solve for two variables at the same time. All right, so I want to get rid of these fractions altogether. So what you do is you look at the denominators of the fractions. In this one, in this problem, both of the denominators are the same. All right, so if I want the least common multiple and they're the same number, that is the least common multiple. Why do we want the least common multiple? Because if we multiply by the least common multiple of all of the denominators, we can get rid of the fractions. Now, the big thing that you have to remember when doing this is, if I'm going to multiply something in an equation by a number, I have to multiply every single term by that same number. So I'm going to multiply 5/9 x times 9. We said that was our least common multiple. I'm going to multiply 4/9 x times 9. But I also have to multiply the 9 times 9. If you're going to multiply or divide in an equation, you have to multiply or divide every single term by that number. Now, how does that help me? All right, 5 times 9 is 45, divided by 9 is 5. So this leaves me 5x. 4 times 9 is 36, divided by 9 is 4x. And then 9 times 9 would be positive 81. All right? These two equations will give me the same answer as if I had left these as fractions. But doesn't this look a lot easier? It should. All right? So we're going to subtract 4x from both sides because there are variables on both sides of the equal sign. These cancel out. 5x minus 4x would be 1x, which we would write as just x, and then bring down your positive 81, and then look, we're done. All right? Because the coefficient went away because 5 minus 4 is 1, so this one was extra easy at the end. All right, but they're not all going to be that easy. All right? Yeah, it won't be that easy. Let's look at letter K. 32 minus 3/8 y equals 3/4 y plus 5. Again, there are fractions in this. Boo, fractions. So let's get rid of said fractions. Look at your denominators. We've got an 8 and a 4. What is the least common multiple of 8 and 4? That'd be 8. So we're going to multiply every single term times 8. That's the only way to do this, is to multiply everything by 8. All right, 32 times 8 would be 256 minus 3 times 8 is 24, divided by 8 is 3y. Now you might be saying, well, isn't it just always the numerator in your variable? Well, if the denominator's not 8, it doesn't work exactly like that. 3 times 8 is 24, divided by 4 is 6y. So look, that changed. Plus 8 times 5 is 40. All right? Now you've got what we started with today, an equation with variables on both sides, but now the fractions are gone. So we're going to add 3y to both sides. Pew, pew. That leaves 256 equals 9y plus 40. All right, then we need to subtract 40 from both sides. Pew, pew. That leaves me with 216 equals 9y. Then we're going to divide both sides by 9. Pew, pew. We get a lot of pew-pews in this problem. Gives me y equals 216 divided by 9 is 24. All right, so that's a nice tricky way to get rid of the fractions and get the same answer. Last one, letter L. Negative 7/8 m minus 6 equals negative 3/8 m minus 14. All right, so this one, what's the least common multiple of 8 and 8? That'd be 8. So we're going to multiply everything by 8. All right, first off, this is negative, so let's leave the negative. 7 times 8 is 56, divided by 8 is 7. So this is negative 7m. Negative 6 times 8 would be negative 48. This is negative. 3 times 8 is 24, divided by 8 is 3, so negative 3m minus negative 14 times 8 would be negative 112. All right, and you start with your least coefficient. That'd be this negative 7. So we're going to add 7 to both, or 7m. We're going to add 7m to both sides. That leaves negative 48 equals 4m minus 112. We're going to add 112 to both sides. These cancel out. A negative 48 plus 112 is 64 and equals 4m. We're going to divide both sides by 4. Hopefully you could see what I was doing just then. I forgot to move up the paper. 64 divided by 4 is 16m equals m. Not 16m. 16 equals m. All right? I got one more thing for us to do, and that's a word problem. Let's see if we can apply these skills to a real-life word problem.
Wasn't that a cool trick? It's almost like Mr. Brown's got superpowers like Spider-Man. Spider-Man, Spider-Man does things that... All right, seriously though. We are going to solve a real-world problem using these same skills. All right, we want to price compare two different options and figure out when those two options come out to equal the same amount. Let me read this problem for you.
All right, for this last one, Mary can buy a video game console for $72.45 and rent a game for $7.95 per week. So that's one deal that she can take. She can rent, she can buy the video game console and rent the game, or she can rent a console and the same game for a total of $22.44 per week. So she can buy the console and rent the game, or she can rent the console and the game, right? How many weeks, this is what we're looking for, how many weeks would Mary need to rent both the video game and the console to pay as much? To pay as much means to equal as she would if she had bought the console and rented the game instead. All right, so we got two situations here, and we're looking for at what point are they the same, all right? So let's define our variable. We're looking for how many weeks. So let's say W equals the number of weeks to pay the same amount. Okay? So, let's look at the first situation. Mary can buy the video game console. If you're buying it, does she have to pay that every single week, or does she just do that one time? She just does it one time. If it's something you do once, that's your constant. All right, so we're going to add 72.45. That's our constant. All right, and then to rent the game is $7.95 per week, so times W. So $7.95 W plus the console. We want to know, when does that equal, when does she pay as much, the same amount, for renting both? All right, if she rents both, it's $22.44 per week, so times W. And we want to know, when are these the same? So we're going to solve. Well, there's a variable on both sides, so let's get rid of one of the variables. Let's subtract 7 95/100 W from both sides. Pew, pew. All right, that leaves 72.45 equals, all right, 22.44 minus 7.95 would be 14.49 W. And then we need to divide both sides by 14.49. These cancel out. That leaves the W by itself. 72.45 divided by 14.49 is 5. So, at week 5, Mary will pay just as much to buy the console and rent the game as she would if she rented both the console and the game. All right? There you go. Pika, Pikachu.
That's it for today. That's all the knowledge I can pack into your brain today. Let's run through real quickly the schedule for this week. This week's schedule is a little bit different because we have a test, a major grade this week. So let me run you through each day what we're going to be doing so that you know what to expect. Tomorrow, just like always, after one of these videos, we are going to have some practice questions on solving equations with variables on both sides. Wednesday, you will get the study guide. Wednesday, you need to work the study guide on your own. I'm going to make sure that you can print it off. If you can't figure out how to print it off, then just pull it up on the screen, write down the problem, show your work, circle your final answers. Because Thursday, I will come back with a video and walk you through step by step every single problem that you are going to be expected to answer that you answered on that study guide, and that you will be expected to know that information on the test. All right, so that gets us all the way up through Thursday. Friday will be our first major grade of the fourth 9 weeks. There are only going to be 2 major grades this fourth 9 weeks, so this is 50% of your major grade portion of your overall average. So that's why I'm devoting 2 days leading up to it to get you ready for it. So get your study guide Wednesday, work it out. Thursday, we'll check over study guides, make sure you got the right answers. I'll explain how to get the right answer if you didn't. And then Friday will be the actual test. All right? Solving 1, 2, multi-step, variables on both sides, combining like terms, everything that we've talked about since we started doing this online learning is going to be expected of you on Friday. All right. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Mr. Brown's channel. Ring that bell so you get a notification every single time I pop a new video on here. From my boy Link here, we want to say stay safe and don't do drugs.